Rick had always been curious. Too curious, some would say. He was just a young explorer from Earth, part of a small team sent to study the ancient alien ruins on planet Dorian 5. The planet was cold and quiet, with black mountains and a red sky. Strange symbols were carved into the rocks. No one could read them. One day, as the team moved deeper into the ruins, Rick saw something strange. At the center of a dark chamber, there was a tall metal stand. On it sat something that looked like armor, old, heavy, and covered in strange glowing lines. "Whoa," Rick whispered. "What is that?" Kayla, a quiet woman from another crew, stepped forward quickly. Her voice was sharp. "Don't touch that. Stay away." Rick blinked. "Why?" "It's just a suit." Kayla looked at him, her eyes cold. "It's not just a suit. It's alive and dangerous." The rest of the team stayed back, unsure. They had seen Kayla act strange before. Some said she knew more than she let on. She never talked much about her past, but Rick didn't listen. He took one more step toward the armor. "What's it doing here if it's so dangerous? Looks broken to me." Kayla stepped closer, grabbing his arm. "I warned you. This armor isn't dead. It's sleeping. If you touch it." But it was too late. Rick pulled his arm away and reached out. His fingers touched the cold metal dot. Suddenly, the armor moved. The pieces jumped off the stand shoulder. Plates, chest armor, helmet, boots all flying toward Rick like they were alive. Before he could scream, the armor wrapped around his body, one piece at a time, locking in place. The glowing lines turned bright blue, then red. Rick screamed and fell to the ground. The armor tightened around him. The others shouted and ran too. "Help!" But Kayla held up her hand. "Stay back." Rick's body shook. His eyes rolled back. Then, silence. He lay still. After a long moment, he opened his eyes. They were glowing. "Rick?" One teammate asked. Rick stood up slowly. The armor fit him perfectly. Too perfectly. I can hear something," he whispered. "A voice. It's speaking to me. But not in any language I know." Kayla stepped forward, serious. "It has chosen you." Rick turned to her. "What do you mean?" "I told you not to touch it," Kayla said. "This armor was left behind by an alien warlord long ago. He destroyed planets. His armor was his weapon. It's alive and it remembers. But why me?" Rick asked. Kayla shook her head. "It doesn't choose at random. You have something it wants. Maybe your mind, maybe your body, or maybe your soul." Rick looked down at his hands. The armor shimmered slightly, like it was breathing. The commander of the team, Captain Reese, spoke through a radio. "Get him to the base. We need to study this carefully." Back at the research base, they placed Rick in a scanner. Scientists tried to remove the armor, but it wouldn't move. When they cut at it, the armor reacted. It sent out a shockwave that threw the machines across the room. One scientist got too close. The armor lashed out, burning his hand with a flash of red light. "It's defending itself," someone said. "Or defending him." Later that night, Rick sat alone in a locked room. He couldn't sleep. He felt strange, strong, but also scared. Then he heard it again, a deep voice inside his head. Awakened. At last, flesh and metal. Become one. "Who are you?" Rick whispered. "You are mine now." Suddenly, the lights in the room went dark. The walls shook. Alarms screamed. Guards rushed to Rick's room, but the door was gone. Blown open, and Rick was gone too. No one knew how Rick escaped. The security room showed only static. One moment, he was inside a locked chamber. The next, the camera blinked, and he was gone. The metal door had melted, like someone had pressed a sun against it. Outside, the night on Dorian 5 was silent, but not calm. Strange winds moved through the alien ruins, whispering like voices. The base was on high alert. Guards searched with flashlights, calling Rick's name, but deep down, None of them expected him to answer. Rick was already far away. He ran without knowing where he was going. The armor on his body moved like skin, shifting with each step. It felt heavy at first, but now it was light, as if it had learned his body. He didn't feel tired. In fact, he didn't feel human anymore. Rick stopped near a broken alien statue. He fell to his knees and held his head. The voice had returned louder than before. "You are not weak. You are the vessel." "Vessel?" Rick whispered. "What do you want from me?" "You opened the path. You touched the heart. Now we wake." The glowing lines on the armor turned red again. His fingers twitched. His chest hurt like something inside was burning. Then for just a moment, he saw something flashes in his mind. A great war. Giant ships. Planets exploding. And at the center of it all, a tall alien in black armor. The same armor Rick now wore. He screamed. Suddenly, someone touched his shoulder. He turned, ready to fight, but it was Kayla. She didn't look surprised. "I followed your energy," she said softly. "The armor calls. I can feel it." Rick's eyes glowed in the dark. "This thing, it's showing me things. War, death. I think it wants to use me." Kayla nodded. "It always wants something. That's how it works. It bonds, it learns, and then it grows. I can't take it off." Rick said, "You never will." She sat beside him, watching the red sky above. The wind was getting stronger. "I warned you, Rick. I wasn't lying. You know more than you say," he told her. "What is this armor? What is it really?" Kayla hesitated, then said, "It belonged to the first warlord of the Varnak species. Long before humans walked Earth, the Varnak ruled half the galaxy. They were brutal. Their armor was alive, part machine, part mind. When their empire fell, the armor was hidden, locked away in ruins like this." Rick looked at his arms. Why didn't it stay dead? Kayla looked at him. "Because it waits for the right host. Someone young. Someone strong. Someone angry." Rick frowned. "I'm not angry." Kayla stared at him. "Not yet." Suddenly, there was a deep humming from under the ground. The earth shook. Nearby rocks began to float slightly. The armor pulsed with energy. "It's reacting," Kayla said, "to something underground. Or someone." Before they could move, a sharp voice came through a small radio on Kayla's belt. "We've got movement near the ruins' energy spike. It's Rick's signal. Captain wants him brought in now." Kayla turned it off without answering. "They'll come for you soon," she said. "You can't run forever." Rick stood up slowly. "I'm not running. I just don't know what I'm becoming." Kayla looked at him with something like fear and pity. "Neither do I. That's the problem." Just then, something lit up behind the mountains. A distant column of light bright blue rose into the sky. It pulsed once, then vanished. Rick and Kayla stared at it. "What was that?" he asked. Kayla's face turned pale. "The armor has begun to connect. It's searching. Maybe for others. Maybe for its master. But the master is dead, right?" Rick asked. Kayla didn't answer. Rick looked down at his hands. The armor had shifted again, new patterns glowing across the surface. He could feel the heartbeat of something ancient. Something terrible inside him. And for a moment, he wasn't afraid. He felt powerful. Kayla had never told anyone who she really was. Not when she joined the research teams. Not when she landed on Durian 5. Not even when she saw the alien armor again after all these years. But now, walking beside Rick through the Black Stone Valley, she knew the time for silence was over. Rick's footsteps were quiet. The armor no longer made noise. It had changed again, sleeker, darker, more alive. It no longer looked like something old. It looked like it belonged to him now. "I had a dream last night," Rick said suddenly. "I saw ships, thousands of them, and a throne made of bones." Kayla didn't look at him. "That wasn't a dream. The armor is showing you memory. It's Memory. From who? Rick asked. The warlord? She stopped walking and faced him. His name was Kavaran. He ruled the Varnak Empire for over 1,000 years. They believed he was a god. He wasn't. He was worse. Rick's face was pale. Why do I see what he saw? Because you carry his last breath, Kayla said. The armor holds part of him, not his body, but something deeper. His thoughts, his hunger. Rick's hands clenched. You knew all this. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I was afraid, she replied. Rick stared at her. Afraid of what? Kayla looked up at the sky. The red clouds were thicker now. Afraid that history would repeat itself. There was a long silence between them. Then Rick said, You've been here before. She nodded slowly. Years ago. I was part of a secret mission. Not human, not alien, a mix of both. We were searching for the armor. Not to study it, but to hide it, or destroy it if we had to. But you failed. Kella's jaw tightened. We lost many people, good people. The armor destroyed them. It only let me live because I once wore it too. Rick stepped back. You what? Kayla met his eyes. I was young, like you. I touched it without knowing. It chose me. But I wasn't strong enough. I couldn't hold it. So I ripped it off before it took everything. But it let you go? Rick asked. No, she said. I tore pieces of my own mind to get free. I never came back whole. Rick stared at her for a long moment. And now it's in me. Kayla nodded. And it likes you more. The wind began to pick up again. Dust rose around them. The ruins nearby started to hum softly, as if something deep underground had started moving. The sky pulsed once with light. Rick looked down. The glowing lines on his armor were shifting again, forming symbols he couldn't read. I don't feel like myself anymore, he whispered. Sometimes I think like him, like Kavaran. It's like he's waking up inside me. Kayla took a step forward. Then we don't have much time. For what? For you to fight him. From the inside. Rick shook his head. What if I can't? Then we all die. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the valley, metal against metal. Then footsteps. Not human. They weren't alone anymore. From the shadows a tall figure appeared. It wore armor too, not like Rick's, but similar. Cracked, rusted, but still alive. Red light flickered from its chest. It looked at Rick and spoke in a broken voice. He has returned. Kella's eyes went wide. No, it can't be. They activated another one. Rick took a step back. There's more? Kayla pulled out a small blade, something ancient. The Varnak made hundreds of these. Some were buried. Some were locked in vaults. But if one woke up, the armored figure stepped closer. The ground cracked under its feet. The signal has been heard. The others, rise. Rick's armor pulsed, almost excited. It wanted to connect. He felt his body begin to move, not by choice. Rick! Kayla shouted. Don't let it take control. But it was too late. Rick's eyes glowed white. The ground shook again. The ruins lit up with blue light. Something deep in the planet responded. And far above, in the sky, a dark shape moved among the clouds, something large. Watching. Waiting. The ship came down without sound. That it wasn't human. It wasn't even alien in the way most people understood. It looked like a scar in the sky, like something that didn't belong in this part of space. It hovered above the ruins, casting a long shadow across the ground. Then slowly it opened. Rick watched from the edge of a cliff, the armor on his body humming quietly. He could feel the pull. Something inside the ship was calling to him. Kayla stood beside him, her face pale. They found another vault. How many are there? Rick asked. We don't know. The Varnak hid them across dead worlds, moons, hollowed asteroids, places no one would look. But this was always closest to waking. From the open ship, 3 figures stepped out. All wore armor. Not like Rick's, but close. One was tall and thin, one broad and slow, the third fast too fast. Their armor was rougher, mismatched, not clean like his, but it was alive. And angry. They're not like you, Kayla said. Their minds are broken, their bodies were taken too fast. The armor leads them now. They're not people anymore, Rick whispered. No, they're weapons. The three turned toward him at once. Even from a distance, Rick felt it like a wire connecting their minds. They didn't speak, but he could feel the signal passing between them. And he understood it. Find him, test him. Break him. Rick didn't wait. He jumped. His armor reacted faster than thought, launching him from the cliff. He hit the ground hard but rolled like it was nothing. The energy in his legs pushed him forward. He ran toward the figures, heart pounding, fists tight. The first one, the fast one, came at him like lightning. Their blades appeared from nowhere, shaped from the armor itself. Rick blocked 1-2, but the third sliced across his chest. Sparks flew. His armor growled. He pushed forward and slammed his shoulder into the attacker. The fast one flipped back and landed like a spider. The second one, the broad one, raised a heavy arm. A cannon unfolded. It fired. Rick dodged barely. The blast hit a nearby rock and turned it to dust. Kayla shouted from the ridge, "You can't win like this. You're holding back." "I don't want to lose myself." Rick shouted, "Then you'll lose everything." The third one, the tall one, hadn't moved. It watched, studied. Rick focused. He let the armor take a little more control. Just enough. The lights on his arms turned blue again. His speed doubled. His senses sharpened. He moved faster than the fast one, dodged the cannon, closed the distance and struck. 1, 2, 3 blows. The broad one dropped, sparking. The fast one rushed again, but this time Rick was ready. He caught the blade mid-air, twisted, and shattered the attacker's arm. Only the tall one remained. It stepped forward and spoke with a voice like dust. "You are not the first." Rick stared. "What does that mean?" "You are only a seed. The storm comes after you." Then it turned and walked into the ruins, disappeared. Rick didn't chase. He was breathing hard. Not from tiredness, but from fear. Kayla reached him. "You beat them. I didn't win," he said. "They were testing me," she nodded. "They wanted to see if the armor chose well." Rick looked at his hands. Blood. Dust, glowing symbols. "They weren't the only ones watching," he said. "There's something else. Deeper. Beneath us." Kayla looked toward the ruins. The entrance where the tall one vanished still glowed faintly. "Then we go down," she said. He hesitated. "You don't have to do this, Rick," she added. "You can walk away." "No, I can't," Rick said quietly. "Not anymore. It's in me now, and it's not done." The two of them entered the ruins, deeper than before. The walls pulsed with light, and strange voices whispered from cracks in the stone. Far below, locked in metal and shadow, something old was waking up. It knew Rick's name. The walls were alive, not with creatures or vines, but with memory. As Rick and Kayla moved deeper into the ruin, the stone around them began to change. It glowed faintly with lines: blue, red, then white. As Rick walked, the lights followed him. They responded to his presence, as if the ruin itself had been waiting. Kayla kept close, but she didn't speak. She had been here once before, long ago, in another ruin like this. That time she barely escaped, but this one felt different. This one felt awake. The deeper they went, the warmer it got. Not heat from machines, but from something breathing. Something ancient. At the end of the hallway, they found it. A circular room, high ceiling, symbols carved into every wall. In the center stood a platform with a strange pillar, smooth and black. It pulsed gently. Rick stepped toward it. Kayla grabbed his arm. "Don't." But the armor pushed him forward. "I think it wants me to touch it," Rick said quietly. "And what if it's a trap?" He looked at her. What if it's a key? Before she could stop him, he reached out and touched the pillar. There was no sound, no explosion. No flash, only silence. Then Rick's body stiffened. His eyes turned white. His hands locked to the pillar. Kayla stepped back. "Rick!" He didn't answer. Inside his mind, Rick wasn't in the room anymore. He was somewhere else, floating, surrounded by stars. Giant ships moved slowly through space. Black armor, red lights, alien symbols carved on the sides. He understood them now. Primary command. Activate invasion protocol. A new voice echoed inside him. Not Kavaran. Not the armored something colder. Signal accepted. Host confirmed. Uploading coordinates. Rick screamed back in the real world. The room shook. The walls flashed. Red. The pillar sent out a wave of light straight through the ceiling into the sky, past the clouds, past the atmosphere. A signal had been sent. Rick collapsed. Kayla ran to him. "What happened? Rick, talk to me." He opened his eyes slowly. His voice was weak. "I didn't just wake up memories. I woke up the whole system. The armor, it's connected to a network. A hive." Kayla stared at him. "What kind of network?" "They're coming." "Who?" He looked at her, eyes filled with something more than fear. "The Varnak. Or what's left of them." The room kept shaking. The light from the pillar slowly faded, but the message had already gone. Out above the planet, far beyond the edge of the system, something received it. A fleet sleeping for ages. Waiting in deep space. Ships larger than cities. Engines cold. But now, blinking to life. Each one with its own armor. Each one ready for war. Kayla helped Rick stand. "We have to warn Earth." "It's too late," Rick said. "They're not coming for Earth. They're coming for me." The armor called them. Kayla frowned. "Then we find a way to stop the call." "No," Rick said. "We find a way to end the war before it begins." She looked at him closely. "You're changing." "I have to," he replied. "They're not just soldiers. They're machines of destruction. I saw what they did to other galaxies." "You think you can fight them all?" "No," Rick said. "But I can lead them away." Kayla grabbed his hand. "Not alone." The ruin shook again, harder this time. Dust fell from the ceiling. The pillar cracked down the middle and shattered outside. The sky changed color. Blue lines flickered across the clouds, forming a pattern that hadn't been seen in 1,000 years. A map. Coordinates. An invasion path. Rick looked up. They gave me the code. Kayla's voice was barely a whisper. "What code?" Rick turned toward her. His eyes now flickered with a second glow. Something new. The invasion code. And far above, in the black silence between stars, the first ship began to move. The stars were no longer still. One by one, lights blinked into existence across the sky, slow at first, then faster, until there were too many to count. They moved like shadows, but their size gave them away. These were ships. Dozens, hundreds, more, all shaped in the same sharp, unnatural style as Rick's armor. Cold, silent, and ancient. Rick stood on a high ridge with Kayla, watching the sky tremble. He wasn't the same person anymore. The armor on his body had changed again, its edges smoother, sharper, almost like it was growing. Symbols that once flickered now stayed lit. They pulsed with every heartbeat. "They've answered the signal," he said quietly. Kayla didn't speak. She had no words for what she saw. One ship broke from the fleet and entered the atmosphere. It didn't roar. It didn't burn. It simply appeared in the sky above Darien 5, like it had always belonged there. Moments later, 6 figures dropped from its belly. Falling like comets, they hit the ground far across the valley. Dust rose. The ground shook. Then the first scream came. Rick didn't move. He could feel the new arrivals through the armor. Not just their location, but their purpose. They weren't scouts. They weren't here to talk. They were tests. They're hunting, he said. For you, Kayla replied. They want to see if you're ready to lead. They want to see if I'm willing to kill. He turned away from the sky and looked down the valley. Fire flickered in the distance. The 6 armored warriors were moving quickly, no hesitation. No fear. One of them had wings. Another crawled on 4 arms. Each one was different. Each one built for something terrible. Kaela loaded a weapon. Something old. Something built to fight these things. You don't have to do this alone, she said. Rik stepped forward. I'm not sure I'm even me anymore. Then fight. Like you are, she said. Fight like Rick. They met the first attacker near the ruins. It moved like a blade. Thin, fast, soundless. Rick didn't wait. He struck first. The ground cracked. The air burned. Their blows sent shockwaves through the stone. Kayla fought beside him, dodging the 2nd and 3rd armored ones. But it was clear they were stronger now, smarter. They had evolved. One of them spoke. He rises. The chain begins again. Rick replied without thinking. A different voice came from his mouth. Older. Deeper. I will break the chain. The enemy paused, just for a second, as if it recognized the words. But then it charged again. The battle went on until the sun began to rise. Or maybe it was a different light entirely. Something had changed in the sky. Rick stood above the final fallen enemy, breathing hard, armor damaged, mind shaken. Around him, the valley was silent again. Kayla limped toward him, bleeding but alive. They won't. Stop, she said. You know that, right? I don't need them to stop, Rick replied. I need to end it before they reach Earth. She looked at him, her voice thin. How? He looked at the sky, where more lights had started to move. I go to them. Kayla stared. What are you saying? I board the fleet, Rick said. If I'm the key, then I go into the lock. I find the source. The one giving the orders. Maybe I end it from inside. You could die. I already did, he said, the day I touched the armor. Kayla's eyes softened. Then let me come with you. Rick shook his head. If I fail, someone has to be left to warn the others. A moment of silence passed between them. Finally, Kayla placed her hand on his chest. Then make them fear. I'll do more than that, Rick said. I'll make them remember what it means to face a human. High above, the largest ship opened its gate. A beam of red light poured downward, waiting. Rick stepped into it and rose toward the heart of the fleet. Space was silent, but Rick could feel everything. The moment he entered the mothership, the armor wrapped tighter around him, like it had been waiting for this moment. He floated inside a long tunnel of dark metal. Lights followed him, one by one, as if the ship recognized him, or welcomed him. That no one greeted him, no guards, no weapons, only echoes. He walked forward, guided by instinct more than vision. The armor pulled him toward something deeper. A pulse, a presence. Not a man, not a voice, but a will. He passed rows of frozen bodies sealed in armor like statues, others like him who had been chosen long ago. But they didn't move. They were hollow, failed hosts. Empty now. The ship's walls changed as he reached the center. The air was warmer. The lights dimmed. And there, standing in the dark, was a shape tall, unmoving, covered in black armor so ancient it looked like stone. It turned slowly. Its face was a blank metal mask, with one single red eye glowing at the center. K single quotes VARAN. Alive. Not fully dead. A ghost of the warlord held inside the ship's mind and armor. Rick took a breath. You're what's left. A voice answered, not from the figure's mouth, but from everywhere at once. You are the final link. The last to awaken. The perfect shape. Rick stepped closer. I'm not your soldier. You are not mine. You are me. The figure moved without warning, fast as thought. Rick blocked the first strike. The ship groaned under their feet as power clashed against power. The armor screamed in Rick's mind, calling him to release everything, but he held back. He didn't. Want to become another weapon? Kavaran struck again, harder. A blade formed from his arm, slicing through the air. Rick dodged, countered. The two crashed through the floor and into a lower chamber filled with burning red light. There Rick saw at the core, a beating heart of light. The source of the fleet's power, the invasion's brain. If he could destroy it, he could stop everything. But Kavaran stood in the way. You think you are strong, the voice said. But strength is not enough. Rick gritted his teeth. No, but will is. He stopped holding back. The armor responded, glowing brighter than ever. Symbols burned white across his body. The memory of every fight, every scream, every choice, Kella's voice, his pain. His fear lit up in his mind like fire. He charged. They met again with thunder. The fight felt endless. Kavaran didn't slow. He couldn't die, only fade. But Rick wasn't trying to kill him. He was trying to replace him. With one final push, Rick reached the core. The armor peeled back from his arm, revealing human skin, and with his bare hand, he touched the heart of the machine. For a moment, there was silence, then light. Blinding white light. Every ship in the fleet paused. Their weapons dimmed, their engines flickered. On Dirain 5, Kayla looked up and saw the stars shift, then stopped out. The fleet went quiet. Inside the mothership, the red lights turned blue. Kavaran's body collapsed into dust. The core pulsed one last time and went dark. Rick fell to his knees, breathing hard. The armor around him softened. It no longer spoke, but it stayed with him. He had taken control. The ships above changed direction, slowly drifting away from Earth. Silent, empty, Rick stood in the dark chamber, alone, but he was no longer afraid. Years later, on a quiet world far from Dirain 5, a child found a strange piece of metal buried in the ground. It was old, and it hummed softly with forgotten energy. Before he could touch it, an old woman appeared behind him. Her eyes were tired, her voice low. "Don't," she said. "Not again." Kayla, watching, because the armor never truly dies.